This is the Heroic Voice, where I talk to comic book creators, people I've worked with, other interesting people, about the history of comics, superheroes, and the current state of the comic book industry. I also discuss current and upcoming projects, current events, and any other topics my guests might be interested in talking about. So subscribe and hit the like button. Help me grow this channel and promote indie comic book creators, publishers, and other people affiliated with the comic book industry. Your comments are appreciated. Get to it and leave feedback, good, bad, and otherwise. I am your host, Dennis Maloney, writer, publisher of the Heroic Multiverse, where we spotlight good girls, bad girls, super babes, and superheroics in a classic, kind of golden agey style. Grab some snacks and enjoy. This is the Heroic Voice. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Heroic Voice. This is Dennis Maloney, the publisher of Heroic Publishing. We do Flair, League of Champions, Liberty Girl, all kinds of stuff. And I'm here today. It is March 29th, 2025, with Drew Seldin of Atomic Crush Events, a comic book convention entrepreneur. Drew, hi, good to have you.
Hey, Dennis, how are you? Thank you for having me on.
I'm good. It's been a long time since I've seen you. I just haven't done conventions lately. I'll try to get back into the swing of things. And you said you wanted me to come to the one that you do here in California.
Yeah, listen, I mean, if we're chit-chatting and whatever, and you're in the area, coming out to Ontario May 17th and 18th, we're gonna have a great weekend plan.
All righty. 17th and 18th. I might be able to do that.
All
Is
right,
that a
so
formal invitation, Drew?
it's an engraved invitation, we'll call it.
All righty. Okay, great. I love to go there. If I can help you out with any panels or stuff like that, I'd be glad to do that.
Okay.
All right. So what I'd like to do today, because we haven't really had a guest who specializes in conventions on before. There was a young man that we spoke to. Gosh, his name escapes me. He does conventions, local conventions on the side, but that wasn't the crux of the talk. I would like today to be a talk about what's changed. When you first started doing things, in comic books with conventions and stuff, it was different, right? Things have evolved, things have changed. So why don't we do this? Let's start with what it was like when Atomic Crush first started doing comic book events. And, then let's go into how it's evolved.
Sure, absolutely. So Atomic Crush Events, my partners, Mike Sigliano and James Ross, and I launched the company in 2017. But prior to that, we had been working in conventions at different companies, some together, some not, since about 2007. So we've done it a lot, and the reason that we ended up forming Atomic Crush is that many conversations after shows were like, "Oh, if this was my show, this is what I would have done." Oh man, eventually, if I ever run my own show, this is what I'm going to do, and a lot of our thoughts aligned. So the biggest changes, and I'm not fully going to talk about the changes yet related to all the changes after the pandemic, but really because of the explosiveness of the industry and how many shows have come about, what was easier to plan in the sense of that no competition on your weekends, much more availability to guests, much more affordability in guests because there was less options for them. It was using the word easier belittles what we do. So it wasn't easier, but there might have been less hurdles and hoops to jump through
I would
years
say it
ago.
was more straightforward back then.
More straightforward, but also, with less competition, I guess I got to use the word easier. It was easier to get venues, to find a weekend without another show, to not have to battle other shows for guests. So really, the biggest changes for us have become just the amount of shows that are going on all across the US and really all across the globe. And finding your weekend and finding your city where there's not competition, let's say within 600 or 700 miles, and that you can get the guests that you want. So, like I said, that's really something that the industry has evolved into. I mean, any weekend of the year, you could probably find 2 to 3 shows going on across the U.S. Some
Somewhere in
big,
the
some
U.S.
small, but yeah, it's just incredible.
All right. As a practical matter, now you've already said I take from this that it's difficult, more difficult to get the people you actually want, but I would assume you don't have too much trouble getting people.
No, no, you could always get, but you know, right when the reason we picked Ontario and the reason we picked May was after extensive research. Again, we were looking for a weekend that was really nothing going on. Let's call it, west of the Rockies, in the California area.
To be
And
clear, then, and I want to make this clear to people, May 17th to 18th is Comic Con Revolution in Ontario, California.
California, correct, not Canada. 100%. We do get, I would say we get about maybe 3-4% of people who get confused and say, "Oh my God, I live in Canada. I thought I was buying tickets to Canada." So we do get some of those funny ones. Um, so again, once we zeroed in on the city of Ontario, which was underserved, has roughly 12 million people living in the Inland Empire area. Then it was a matter of finding a weekend that worked for both us, the venue, and for the industry. And we were able to do that. Yeah, we're up against other shows, but geographically they're not really competition. But you're still fighting for guests. We're smaller than some of the shows, bigger than others. So battling a bigger show that's got deeper pockets and bigger budgets and more notoriety and more guests, people are always going to look at that one first. If you are a celebrity looking to make money, or if you're a writer looking to make money, or if you're a vendor looking to make money. So again, it's building, a show that people are going to want to come to.
I think you did that. It's been a while since I've been to one, but the last time I went there, it was great. I mean, it was a fun show.
Thank you. No, you know what? We're very proud. I mean, this is year 8. We had a gap year, obviously, in 2020, but we came back with a show not on our May weekend in December of 2021.
Mhm.
So this will still be year 8. I mean, and when we started it, the idea of our 10-year anniversary being a stone's throw away, uh, it seemed a million years off. Uh, and this year's show is pretty much locked in the sense of everything we need to do. And now we're talking about what's going to happen for year 9. And really, because 10-year anniversary is a big anniversary, we've been dedicating, a portions of our time. Year 10's got to be something really special. So it's always looking ahead. Everyone says, "When do you start your next show?" And I'm like, "Well, this year we'll start at May 19th." I mean,
Yeah, there you
it,
go.
oh, what do you take some time off? Who takes time off? What does that mean? Um, so again, it's an ongoing thing, and it's, yes, focused on the coming year, but really always looking to the future. What movie has a anniversary coming up? What show has an anniversary coming up? What video game has an anniversary coming up? And then looking, is that something to have a reunion for?
Or what country has an anniversary coming up?
Absolutely.
You're going to be doing next year's in 2026,
Yes.
just a couple of months before, a month and a half before the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence.
Right, which is exciting.
And
Yeah,
I
no, I mean,
assume
listen,
you're planning ahead to acknowledge that.
well, we have to. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to acknowledge where we all came from back in the day. So, but yeah, like I said, and again, it's looking at things like that, which is kind of wild. Um, you know, Again, you want to create a show that's going to be special to your attendees, and that's the kind of planning that it takes. It's really, what was hot, what are we going to look at, and uh, really the idea of these reunions. We were the first ones to ever have like the full Avatar cast together, the of the last Airbender cartoon, and that was really something special. Last year we did animated Star Wars reunions. This year we're doing a Smallville reunion. Uh,
Ah,
it's bringing things together. And like I said, we've got some stuff, kind of in the kitty for next year. Can't talk about it yet, But there are some anniversaries coming up, and we're going to be targeting stuff like that. So, like I said, it's a constant thinking, forward thinking idea while you're still putting on this year's show.
Hmm. Now, Comic Con Revolution isn't the only one you do.
Well, we've done them in Florida. We've done them in Chicago, but we've done them in California. No, but we've done some food and wine shows. We've also consulted for other shows in and around the industry. But uh, in the end, what we tell people is that the expertise comes from knowing how to put on the event. And it's, you know, like we talked about, finding the weekend, finding the venue, knowing what you're going to need at the venue, and the little, the things that you learn over the years, and whether it's something as simple as how many bottles of water you're going to need for the staff and the attendees, or getting the insurance done, or making sure when the fire marshal needs to come in and issue the permits. And again, there's a zillion moving parts, and this is really where our expertise in. And I always tell people that if you've got the expertise, you're 75% of the way there, and then it's just really sprinkling in a little magic dust to bring in the right things that are really going to attract the attendees.
I think you do a good job of that.
Thank you.
Regarding attendees, let's segue into maybe some stories that you might or might not want to share.
No, listen, I'll share them more. I mean, there's been some really nice moments. It's probably year 2 or 3. I got an email from a person. He told me that in year 1, he had met a young woman at the show, and they began to date, and he wanted to ask for her hand in marriage, and he really wanted to do it at the show. And was there anything that we could do to help? Obviously, I said yes. I said, do you have an idea, or am I coming up with this, and I got to be creative? And he said, well, why don't you come up with something? So we put him in a panel. It was a like a Pictionary panel,
Hmm.
and we had, I think, Patrick Scullin was in it, and I'm trying to remember what other artists were in it, but they were drawing, and I filled them in, and we clued them all in. So they called, oh, you come on up. So he was drawing, and they're like, who's your partner? And he pointed to this girl, and they said, okay, move to the front. And they were starting to draw, and the panelists were trying to guess, and they were working with her, and it came together, and it was he drew a casket, and then he drew like a piece of paper, like for a will. And then it was, the you, and then, will you what? Will you what? And then, he dropped to his knee and popped out a ring. And they were like, we got it. Will you marry him? So that was a really special moment for us.
Oh,
And, we had that, we recorded it for them and everything. And they come back every year now, kind of, as their little anniversary, which is always really something special. Um, we get a lot of first time attendees that come to our show. They hear about it, they reach out, what should I expect? What's it going to be? And I say the Comic Con Revolution really has something for everybody. If you're a hardcore collector, we've got that for you. If you're there to just experience something you've never seen before, if you're a cosplayer, we have a great contest. We've always done a great Revolution cosplay contest on Saturday nights. Uh, you know, we get a lot of people who, after their experience, come find me, or they find Mike, or they find James, and they want to thank us. And I've posed for some pictures with some people. I let them know that that's worth not even the digital megabytes that are stored on your camera. But they're just so happy to have been a part of something. We did some work with some homeschooling organizations. Kids were coming out to try that. We did some work with some kids, groups of people and kids who are on the spectrum. And just really being able to create a show that anybody can come to. We try and keep it as family friendly as possible. We don't bring in, we make an effort to try not to bring in really risque things. Um, there are always elements to that at a show like this, just some of the costumes and things like that. But because my partners, Mike and James, are all family men, we started it that way, and we really wanted to keep it that way.
It has
Our
been
wives,
recently. Yeah, it has been.
yeah, our wives work for us, our kids work for us. Um, so again, it's just a nice environment, and as a parent, you want to be able to let another parent know that, hey, this is a good environment to bring a family to, and we give kids 12 and under tickets for free with a paid adult, so we try and keep it affordable.
That's cool. It suddenly occurs to me, Comic Con Revolution has a name that would lend itself to 2026.
Well, what revolution are you talking about?
Maybe Comic Con's American Revolution?
Revolution.
That'd be cool.
Listen, why not? We'll dig into find some artists who've done some stuff like that, and certainly spotlight them. It'll be a great summer. I mean, it's certainly going to be a big one. Hopefully everyone's going to enjoy it in the spirit it was meant to be enjoyed. So,
I hope so.
yeah.
I will, if I will make the commitment. Like I said, I haven't been to conventions, but since you didn't invite me, I will commit. I mean, if you have a space for me on May 17th and 18th, I'll be there, and maybe bring somebody with me.
Yeah, listen, you'll be my guest. I would love to have you guys come out, check it out, walk around, enjoy yourselves, and really, if you need to bring your equipment and you want me to set you up with a press pass so you can do some interviews and stuff, I'd be happy to do that too.
Okay, that'd be great. Thanks. All right.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk. Do you have any other conventions that are actually on the schedule at this point, or is the one in Ontario the only one you have on board?
Right now, for the rest of this year, the Revolution is going to be the only one that's on board. Our next variety of stuffs are not going to be until 26. We'll be getting back into some other things that we had put a little bit of a hold on when we had to kind of retract everything in 2020.
Yeah, how badly did those lockdowns hurt you? I mean, you said you came back in December, but
Well, December of 21, we came back.
ah,
I mean, it was devastating. So, crazy story related to that is that we were flying out to do a walkthrough. It was March 13th, 2020, whatever. I fall asleep on the plane. When I wake up, James and Mike are basically standing over my seat, yelling at me that the whole world is shutting down and we're going to be trapped in California.
eh,
I said, well, let me go back to sleep then, because I don't know what universe I woke up in. We went out there, and obviously having no concept of what the world was going to be facing, we were meeting with the hotel, we met with the venue, and I was like, oh, how long can this last? 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So we were,
15 days to stop the spread.
yeah. What was it? Shrink the curve. What did they? I don't even remember anymore. Flatten the curve.
Flatten the curve.
So we were still going ahead because again, it didn't make any sense to anybody at the beginning.
It didn't make
Um,
any sense to some people throughout the whole thing, I will tell you.
yes. I don't want to get too deep down that rabbit
Yeah,
hole.
let's.
Yeah, but no, but again, it just so yeah. I mean, we then had to obviously talk to all the vendors. The show floor was sold out. We had sold a few thousand tickets already. We had celebrities planning to come in. We had comic book people coming in. We had bought airline tickets already. It was a matter of what do we do? And then it was a matter of, okay, we have no income coming in. And we have no idea when we're going to again.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, we were completely contracted. We canceled 3 shows. Um, and when things finally started to get back to normal, it had been, you know, 12 months or so, whatever the time frame was. And we said we have to do something. But yeah, I mean, we completely contracted the company. Really, everybody who was, working with us, we said, listen, we just, there's absolutely nothing we can do. There's nothing for us to do. We ended up, filing for some of the federal grants and loans and help, which we got, which was great. And
Didn't make up for it though. I mean,
no, I mean,
Heroic
it
Publishing had to do the same thing, right? We got some money, but
right.
not nearly enough.
No, I mean it kept us it kept us from preventing to have to completely shut down.
Hmm.
That's the limit of it, and I'm grateful for that. I don't want to sound like I'm not. Um, and then when we started to, like I said, see a potential end to all of it, we spoke to the Ontario Convention and we said, when can you get us in there for us to even do a 1 day show, something to generate revenue again, and something to get us, almost out of mothballs, in the sense of just get all the creative juices flowing again, get back on track. And they had something for us, and I think it was a week or two before Christmas. So we were able to bring in Santa, and yes, it was still a Comic Con, but we made it holiday themed, and people came out in droves. Everybody was very excited to get back out. We had an entire new set of rules related to obviously distancing, and masks and everything else. But people were chomping at the bit to get back out. Everyone had been cooped up for so long, and everybody had been cooped up, and was just ready, because it was safe again, to get out there and start to do the things that they missed.
Well, I will
Uh,
say, to my mind, it was always safe. It was always overblown, right?
right.
But, that's a political
No,
question.
no, and again, I think the same way. I mean, I think that, you know, on what, on both sides, people are going to have their opinion.
Absolutely. I
Yeah,
remember the last show that I actually went to was at the tail end of this, just as you described.
right.
Masking, right, social distancing. It was not fun, right?
Okay,
And I have just not gone to a show since then.
right.
So, and as you said when we were talking earlier before this we started recording, it's time. Let's get out of let's get out there. Let's talk to people. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that again.
Yeah, I mean, again, what I love about Comic Cons, and even whether it's a food show, or a Comic Con, or a music festival, whatever it may be, you're getting just together with people who love what you love. And there's just something so great about that, and I was trying to explain to my dad why people go to Comic Cons, or why people have collectibles and things like that. And I said, Dad, I'm like, you grew up, in Brooklyn in the 40s. I said, so yeah, this is strange to you. You don't understand any of this. I said, but what did you love more than anything when you were growing up? The Yankees.
Dodgers.
He was a Yankee guy.
Ah, he
Yeah,
lived in Brooklyn and he was a
yeah,
Yankee
but
guy.
he was still a Yankee guy. And I just said, I'm like, what is the first word, part of the word fanatic? It's fan. I said, so whether you're collecting a Mickey Mantle rookie, or a Superman #1, I'm like, if it's what you love and it's what makes you happy, the intrinsic value belongs to you, and that's what we love about doing shows. And like I said, if it's a food show, if it's a music festival, if it's a Comic Con, even if it's a quilting show, the people you're there with love what you're producing so much, because it's what they love. And being around people like that, the environment is infectious, and it makes what you do more fun. I'm not going to sit there and say that our jobs are easy, and oh, I do it because I love it. Listen, it's still work, it's a living, the whole thing. But I am lucky in the sense that, again, I get to be around people when we do these that love what I love. Or again, just being in an environment with 8 or 10,000 people that love the same thing. And again, it just creates a really positive environment, and it's exhilarating to be around.
Let's talk about you. You love comics, right? How did that love begin?
So this is a story that I tell, and off the air, I will give you my dad's number, and you can call him and verify it. My first word was Batman.
Really?
It really was. My cradle was in my parents' apartment in Forest Hills, New York. Every day, my brother would watch the Adam West Batman show. So every day from when I was in that cradle till about 10 months, at 4 and 4:30 or whatever time it was on, I heard that song, and I knew what came after that. and my parents will tell the story. My dad will tell it that he was doing it with my brother, and my mother was holding me, and when he finished, I all of a sudden just blurted out, "Man!" Suffice to say, my parents were overwhelmed, and then be like, "How the hell was that his first word and not mommy or daddy?" So the love of it really has been there kind of my whole life. I was I'm 54 now. I was 7 when Star Wars came out, 8 when Star Wars came, whatever it was. I am a Star Wars kid. There's no doubt about it. And just the whole superheroes, sci-fi, all of it. It just has always been something that I loved, and it evolved into a passion in the essence of business. I mean, I was never like I didn't go into that initially. I kind of found my way into it backwards as work. Um, but yeah, like I said, I've always loved it. Superheroes have always just I just get it. I just think it's an awesome way to tell a story, and again, experiencing the characters and their flaws and their highs and their lows, and again, the artwork and what it becomes. I mean, it's all just amazing, and that led me also into a love for video games, and I had a collectibles company for many years that I sold in 2014, and again, all these things, you're creating these events as a love letter to these people who do these things that make people happy. And again, whether it's comic creators or chefs or musicians, like I said, any and all of it, uh, you're creating these shows as love letters to those people, and for people to get face to face with them. And there's nothing better than watching a fan meet Chris Claremont for the first time, or meet Fabian, or uh, show off their new cosplay outfit. Because there's just how excited they are, how much work that went into it. So, like I said, it's just something special about the industry.
Yeah. Well, we haven't mentioned the website. People
Uh,
who want to come to the Ontario convention who haven't yet registered need to know how to do that.
yes, please come to comicconrevolution.com. You can follow us, Facebook, Comic Con Revolution, Instagram, Comic Con Revolution. All the information about the when, the why, the how much, it's all there. Opportunities to purchase autographs in advance, opportunities to purchase photo ops in advance. I mentioned the Smallville reunion. In addition to Smallville, we've got Ernie Hudson coming. We've got Rachel Lee Cook coming. We've got as far as comic wise, we've got Chris Bacallo coming. We've got Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief, coming. For the kids, we've got the voices of Phineas and Ferb coming. Like I said, if you look at the site, all the guests are there. The paneling and programming stuff will probably be up in the next week or so you can really plan out your weekend. There's just gonna, and we still have a couple more announcements to make, some additional names. But if you buy your tickets in advance, they're a little bit less than buying it at the door, but you absolutely can buy tickets at the door. And again, if you go to comicconrevolution.com, all the information you could possibly need about the show is there.
Right. Um, Backtrack just a little bit more. You
Sure.
became aware of Batman through the television show.
Yes.
When did you become aware of comic books as such?
Um, I mean, probably I'm thinking, and it was through my brother, because he had some,
My
and I was,
same story. My brother
yeah,
introduced me to comics.
so you're the younger sibling as well?
I did.
Yeah, so was I. And again, who was there, and Batman. I'm like, well, even though again, there's the connection to the show, who is this guy? Like, what does he do? And the heroicness of him. And he wasn't when this, 48, 47 years ago when I got into this stuff, comics were written a little bit differently. The storylines were, I'm going to say, not as heavy as they are now. And I was a DC kid, so I learned about the Justice League and Superman and Wonder Woman, and just these fascinating characters and the stories. And over the years, do I have my favorites? Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we're bringing more Wolfman in this year, so obviously, I mean, the Infinite Crisis stuff is just incredible. I'll never forget the first time I saw the cover for that when Superman's holding Supergirl, and even having no concept of what I was what the story was about. That cover just resonates in my mind from when I was little. The alternate universe stuff, the Red Sun Superman stuff. There's an issue that I have. I don't remember who did it, but when basically the Waynes find Clark Kent.
Ah, yeah.
So he, he become, and again, but like I said, like the stories of that kind of stuff is just incredible. And then as far as my Marvel stuff, I remember, and one of the books, and I still have the hardcover, when Planet Hulk came out, I thought what a unique and incredible storyline and concept for such a unique character. And the Hulk he's mainstream, but not if you really look at the Marvel universe. So again, there's just certain books that I've identified with over the years. Some more recent, some a little further back. That, like I said, I just love the creativity, the artwork. Like I said, all of it is it just I just think it's incredible.
Well, I agree with you to a certain extent. There's a lot of there's a lot of good stuff out there. You just have to look for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and because there's a lot of stuff, and like you said, you do have to find, what means something to you. So, and that's really what I think is great about it, because there is a lot of variety.
Well, Drew, thank you. I want to encourage people to go, if you live anywhere near Ontario, California, in the Inland Empire, as we call it out here, right?
Yes.
Stop by the show. I mean, like as Drew said, I mean, it's not that much more expensive if you just go there for one day on, to see what's going on. Visit the website. I also want to encourage people, because we need this, to like, if you like this, subscribe, share, right? We want people to find the heroic voice, because we're interviewing a lot of interesting people on this podcast. Again, thank you, Drew. I will look forward to seeing you and Sig and everyone else, in the middle of March.
May.
May, in the middle
Yes.
of May, May
Yes.
17th and 18th in Ontario, California.
Yes, I look forward to it, Dennis. It'll be great to catch up.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too. Take care.